All right. So, oh, thank God somebody in Hollywood has finally picked up on the notion that maybe it's time to quit pot. Maybe it's time to quit pot, and maybe it's time to even quit alcohol. Maybe it's time to redirect. And I post posts to show you that when the climate is changing and I get hives, it doesn't last long for me. I know people think I'm being a little bit aggressive when someone says, "Oh, I hope you get better," and they're all crying and everything. And I'm like, dude, there's nothing to give me sympathy about. This is not looking for sympathy. What I'm posting is to show you that when you open up your immune system and you release the demons and you go through the process of all the pain and suffering of releasing those demons, that when you do get growth, it doesn't have to turn into cancer or it died suddenly, of which these kids right now are dying suddenly. We just had a kid in November 10th that died from a respiratory infection. Died from it. People are like, well, this happens all the time. The only reason why you know about it is because they posted it. Oh yeah, it happens all the time, really? How many times have you really heard of a lot of children and a lot of adults getting diagnosed, dying from respiratory conditions? Like how many, like before? Oh, well, they didn't post it so much. It was just, okay, so if that's how you want to play it, fine. We'll wait for your kid to have an issue. People don't even, see, that's the thing. What they're going to think is, since we didn't have the internet before, or they weren't keeping track of the died suddenlies, because the reason why is they didn't have something to blame it on. But I even saw posts from 2005 where a woman died suddenly from, whatever issue, and people don't blink. They're just like, oh, okay, it's legacy.com. I was looking for an obituary on somebody, and I read somebody's obituary and says, oh, they died suddenly in 2005. So died suddenlies have been happening for a long ass time. It's just increasing in frequency. That's the only difference, is that the frequencies are accelerating, not only in the environment, but in the death process. And that's what I have to actually write. Holy crap. Hold on a second. God dang it. It's not that death is new. It's the frequency of which people are dying is what's freaking new, as well as for children. Okay? And so let me write this so I don't forget. I am not surprised, people, because it has happened for centuries. People dying suddenly, but it is the age groups, the frequency levels, like increased frequency of death and diagnosis. That is what I am trying to impress upon everyone who is so thick-headed about what is going on. Yes, pot and alcohol and sports and traditions will be your nemesis. And kids are dying suddenly because parents are oblivious. Are oblivious even in the J world. Actually, what the fuck did I do? What the hell? Because some parents are oblivious even in the J world. Okay. So I'm not surprised people are dying suddenly because it happened for centuries. People dying suddenly, but it is the age groups, the frequency levels, like increased frequency of death and diagnosis. That's what I'm trying to impress upon everyone so thick-headed about what's going on. Yes, pot and alcohol and sports and traditions will be your nemesis, and kids are dying suddenly because some parents are oblivious, even in the J world. Okay? And so that's pretty much what I'm trying to get across here. And so Ohio, when people or kids are dying from respiratory infections, shit's gone fucking real. Wake the hell up. Your release process and food retention process must be as fast as the growth process. I don't look for sympathy in what I'm going on. I can get through it. I'm trying to show you I'm the canary in the coal mine without dying. Rest in peace, Jordan James. Jordan fell ill on Friday, November 10th with what seems like a normal respiratory infection. He had a bad croup type of cough, so his mom took him to the urgent care. I'm sure all those antibiotics didn't help him. And so died age 11, November 13th, 2023, Ohio, USA. Cause of death, respiratory infection. Okay? And so then finally when I posted about my views on pot and cannabis, knowing how bad it is. Oh, I know how bad it is. Kicking the weed demon is not an easy thing, and Snoop Dogg is going to attempt to do that again. I think he tried a couple of years ago. I forget, but now there's a way to do it, and it's going to take a lot for him to go through it. There's a way to do it without dying from it. He's going to have to eat food. He's going to have to feel the pain of whatever, and he'll have to go through all the heart attacks and strokes and whatever he has to go through, and he's going to have to deal with that. And who knows if he will? I don't know. But I don't know if he's doing the J world, but quitting pot, hell, I don't know how people are going to do that. What's going to help them do that? I have no idea. I don't know his protocol. People may think of hashish and marijuana as a tranquilizer, but according to some studies, cannabis users may be more likely to act violently. Mounting research suggests what addiction professionals already know through experience. There is a link between chronic marijuana use, withdrawal, and violent aggression. So it's not just even alcohol, it's marijuana as well. All that love turns into hate, and aggression. And that's why these poor girls are getting married to these guys, and they're all about pot. They're not going to last very long, or someone's going to die in that situation. It's been proven. I've seen it. Everything's great until it's not. You have a bunch of kids, oh, no, everything's going to hell. Because all that oxytocin, all the honeymoon period in any relationship does finally wear off. And when the love and the hormones and the fantasy of everything of what your future's going to be, when that all is gone, what do you have left? Can you redirect? Can you evolve? And so these poor girls and guys, they're going to be screwed literally in these marriages now with pot as the platform. And these poor children, it's caught in the middle. The reefer madness campaigns were absolutely correct back in the 1930s. Marijuana will be the scourge of society. I mean, it already has been, but you're going to see it exponentially now that they're legalizing weed in many places, which is why there's a lot of intolerance out there, why many people did not like my information. Weed does make people extremely entrenched in their belief systems. Oh, I've seen it. They might be creative in their own right, but any new information will be very difficult to penetrate. You might get in a few times, but the demons are overrunning people. Oh, I get it on so many levels. And not only people become extremely sexual, but also extremely violent and wanting family. Children bring up oxytocin in people. Animals bring up the pleasure hormones. Weed and alcohol bring up a lot in people, and the old traumas come out through the behaviors. Now you really can't say alcohol is worse than weed. All of this, at this point, they're all one of the same. Okay? And so Snoop says, after much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. Oh my God, thank gosh, somebody out there is listening or in alignment, whatever. Thank whatever for synchronicity. Whether he was planning it or I happened to come up with the information as he was planning it, who the hell knows? As far as planning what I'm talking about, as far as the reefer madness. And so yeah. I was right. I just realized something. When someone is under the influence of any kind of love drug, regardless of where it comes from, it could be life forms that are triggering oxytocin, and that's children and animals. Oh, let me tell you, in the J world, children and animals brought out the worst in people. Like, I'm serious. The children and the animals and how they characterize you, what they characterize as harming them or whatever, brought up the worst in people. Like the hate, like you would not believe. Okay? And when you think about what I'm doing and what they're doing, they should be hating themselves, what they're doing to their own children, to their own animals. Oh my God, on so many levels. And so it's quite interesting now seeing what trauma and alcohol and drugs do to people when presented with information that they can't even process correctly. It actually fucks up people's ability to learn and evolve. It really does. I've seen it. It's, oh my God, it's so obvious. And so the love turns to hate as soon as another person majorly challenges their position. Even if they don't, you just happen to not fit within what they think is correct. Out comes the demons. Like, seriously, out comes the demons. I'm actually remembering all the evidence because I know who has said, I'm a pot smoker. I've smoked pot. That's where I come from. Like, everybody that came through the J world, a lot of people that have come through the J world were avid pot smokers, are continuously avid pot smokers. It's everywhere. And the evidence is everywhere. Even my trolls, avid pot smokers, I had no problem admitting it. Remember, I told you I've smoked on and off the last 7 years. And so I'm actually remembering all the evidence. I'm putting it all together. It makes so much sense now. Like, everything makes sense now. And you can't switch that as a person on the receiving end. You can't try to reason with someone who is so under the influence of pot, even if they're not smoking. Their brain has been rewired until they can actually go through the pain of unrewiring their brain to be so fucking entrenched. Now they have to rewire their brain to be logical and tolerant and, peaceful, productive. Well, they're productive, I'm sure, but not so self-destructive. And so, yeah, you can't switch that as a person on the receiving end. You can't reason with that. There's no reason with people who have been rewired on such a level. And if they're that aggressive, you can't live with within those parameters. Because if you do, you're stuck. You can't change. That's why I figured out that I can't break into families, friend groups, because of the actual culture. If you don't fit within that culture, obviously. No shit. Right? That's stating the obvious. Oh, I get it now. And those who are stuck on the shitty receiving end of somebody who is on the love, who also hates you, you'll never change their mind about anything. Drugs make you so entrenched in your belief system. And anyone who represents somebody who challenges your belief system are basically the mortal enemy. Now look at the politics. Look at who they love, who they hate. Because politics is what gives the drug user something to glom onto. Whether it's ivermectin or cannabis. Either they love Trump or they hate Trump. Either they love Biden or they hate Biden. That's all people under the influence of alcohol, drugs, and sex, and children, and family. And oh my God, now you see why America is having a hard time. And so if they know you personally, you might have a chance with someone who thinks you're the devil. All right? Doesn't mean it's going to, you're not going to be able to turn people's minds around about you. But hey, if they know you personally, they realize, she's not really a crazy ass person. Oh my gosh, now I get it. And you can't make them sober either because they're suffering. They'd have to want to be sober and go through the suffering to be sober. And many are too addicted. It's done. It's done. You have to let them do what they do. You can't save them. So, oh wow, no wonder the system is doing a reset. Now I get it. Oh my God, I get it. And you can't even get mad at them. You just gotta stay away from them, right? Because it's not even them, it's the drug. It's the drug. And that's what is crazy. That actually everyone out there, for the most part, I'll say everyone, 99.99999% of people out there are under the influence of alcohol, drugs, sex, family, animals, and trauma. That's why I stay home most of the time. Because I'm the one that is different, obviously. I'm the one that's sane. Everyone else is fucking going through their emotions of, I don't know, man. It's oh my God. And so now that I'm reading more about different religions, I was reading about the Rastafarians and where that came from. And it's based out of Jamaica. And it's about, they said they found somewhere in the Bible where it says there's some biblical herbal drug that brings them closer to God. And so now you have the Rastafarians that were heavy in the hippie movement back in the 1960s. And it was also out in the 1930s. And that doesn't surprise me that the Jazz Age and the Reefer Madness and all that came around the same time. What the fuck? Who planted that whole notion in the 1930s? What brought that on? Was it someone who said, okay, I'm going to go and influence this culture in Jamaica and say, hey, here's this drug, and here in the Bible it says it'll take you closer to God, and then develop a cult following in the 1930s that then spread out all over the world? There had to have been a ground zero. There had to have been that one initial action point, or you would have had Rastafarians way before the 1930s. But why did it become so popular in the 1930s? So anyways, now that I'm reading more about different religions and cultures and marijuana, I'm beginning to wonder if somebody back in the 1930s added in certain passages to any religious text, the Bible, right? Make people believe certain things. No matter what you believe in, were you there when they wrote the original version? And even if you were there, did you watch them write everything word for word every single time they updated it? And let's say it was original. Why are we believing somebody from 6,000 years ago with the perception 5,000, 4,000, even 2,000 years ago? How are people 6, 7, 2,000 years ago more spiritual than those of people today who are looking back on history going like, oh my God, maybe we need to go in and do something different. Maybe this is not the way to be. Maybe there's a reason why Babylon fell, why the Hanging Gardens are not there anymore. Okay? Wouldn't you want the most current perception of certain things today based upon years of study of cause and effect and outcome, just like a house? Wouldn't you want a more updated version? And if you do, wouldn't you want to do the alterations to the parts of your house that are needing to upgrade versus just throw out baby with the bathwater? When the system's like, hey, you should die someday because they want to go and upgrade the humans, you don't have to die, just upgrade the parts that need to be upgraded and stay alive. But no, that's not the notion of a lot of these religions and politics and science people. They're like, yeah, throw away grandma, throw away my daughter or my son if they're not working up to certain potential, and we'll just start all over again. Well, yeah, the system may do that on a mass scale on certain people, but now you have the choice to be thrown away and washed away, or you have the choice to upgrade certain parts of your body so that way you can survive this upgrade. And so you don't have to go and get a whole new house. What if it meant you survive that you question? What if it meant your survival is that you question your lifestyle and belief system? And so then I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. 1930s, same era as Reefer Madness. Rastafarianism is a religious and political movement that began in Jamaica in the 1930s. It combines Protestant Christianity, mysticism, and Pan-African political consciousness. Yeah, basically Rosicrucian. Oh yeah, the Rosicrucians figured out how to meld all the things together and influence different societies based upon what they were going to do anyways. Okay? Well, how do you know they were going to do that? Because, I don't know if they were going to do it anyways, but if pot's been around ever since, 6,000, 7,000, 2,700 BC, then yeah, it's around. Just now, how do you accelerate what's going to happen versus watch another society fall again, right? And so Rastafarians believe in the Judeo-Christian God and call him Yah. And that's what the whole Yahweh, the Hebrews, Rastafarian Hebrew. See, now I know that Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not saying Yah. I'm like, are Jehovah's Witnesses the same thing as they? I'm like trying to figure out all these religions and what they say as the acronyms or as their surnames, or not surnames, I don't know, the slang for whatever. It's not even called slang. But anyways, so the Rastafarians believe in the Judeo-Christian God and call him Yah. They believe that Christ came to earth as a divine manifestation of Yah. Some Rastafarians believe that Christ was black, while many focus on Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia as the Black Messiah and rebirth of Christ. Rastafarians believe that the blacks are the chosen people of God, but that through colonization and slave trade, their role has been suppressed. That's why you see the king or the something of Heru and the Kemet civilization. That makes sense now. I see. Okay. The movement's greatest concerns are the repatriation of blacks to their homeland, Africa, and the reinstatement of blacks' position in society. Rastafarians believe in some of the Bible mixed in with some African beliefs and traditions. They believe that they are one of the 12 tribes of ancient Israel. Okay, that makes sense with the Hebrews. They believe that Ethiopia is their promised land. Rastafarians believe in everlasting life. As a result, they might be hesitant to prepare for death or talk about terminal illness. Since death is not real, they believe that Haile Selassie is still alive. There are three distinct orders of the Rastafarian movement, which hold different beliefs as symbols. These are the Boba, Shanti, Naya, Binji, and the 12 tribes. See, I didn't even know this. Rastafaris preach how Bible says Jesus returned as the Lion of Judah, so they grew their hair into locks. Okay, the dreads, that's what the dreads are. Resemble a lion's mane and the second coming of their powerful leader. To some, locks were a symbol of letting go of material possession and worldly vanity. Rastafari followers believe the use of marijuana is directed in biblical passages, that the holy herb induces a meditative state and brings them closer to God or whoever. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. That's why it's been such a crazy war, and what people think is racism. You know, when you have a population that receives the detriment of marijuana and the violence around it and the crime and the sexuality, and then you look at the music industry and what influenced the music industry, okay, then you can make those connections. Oh my God, that's so. Oh my God. Oh my God. And with the legalization of marijuana in Ohio, oh, you're going to see crime go up. You're going to see violence go up. It's not going to be like everyone's going to be all peaceful. No. There's going to be antibiotic resistance. Holy shit. Yeah, this is when you really just stay home and stay safe. Because society is going to descend in madness. It already has. And so this other guy, Sean Logren, a father of two, passed away tragically after experiencing a headache. Okay? Sean Logren lost his battle with cancer after being diagnosed with a bowel tumor, which eventually spread to his liver and abdomen and brain. Died age 42, October 17, 2023, in the UK. Cause of death, cancer. And so I said, closed immune system. Adaptive and passive antibodies became trapped, causing so much diversity. Infection, fertility died suddenly. What are antibodies? There's the innate immunity. Everyone's born with innate or natural immunity, a type of general protection. There's adaptive or active immunity develops throughout our lives, so when you're going through different places. And then there's passive, when you're getting, actually the adaptives, if you move different places, you have to adapt to a situation. And also passive is whether you get a therapy or you take on some kind of drug or herb, and so, or somebody else, you breathe in somebody else's, mucus or whatever, ectoplasm. So passive immunity, borrowed from another source, at least, and it lasts for a short time. Okay, that's why they keep having new Vs, because they don't last very long. And even if they did last long, you still have to release the demons. Why people are dying is they have a closed immune system. They've trapped not only the adaptive immunity, all those antibodies, but also the passive immunity. So they're full of diversity. And so these kids are so full of diversity and the growth because of climate change, they don't have a chance to get ahead because they have a closed immune system. I mean, it's relatively closed. It's open enough for them to release some stuff, but not fast enough to release the demons, fast enough for the growth that happens during a frequency change. That's why people are dying suddenly. They can't get ahead of it. Their immune system is not conditioned to deal with higher frequencies. They were conditioned for a slower frequency. So when they did get a cold, the growth, what didn't happen so fast, it was coming on, it was creeping on. So they had time to keep blowing their nose before it became so much. But now the frequencies are causing the growth to not creep, but just happen like that, like abracadabra. And now they have this growth that happened overnight, not over a few days. That's why people are not going to be dealing with cancer in the future, because they'll just die suddenly. And they have the immune system kill switches also. And so remember Back to the Future? Biff was an alpha male bullying everybody, throwing his weight around, beating everyone up that was smaller than him, right? And then when Marty came back after he saved himself during the Enchantment Under the Sea segment, so we went back in time to go and, well, he went back in time because he was in that, yeah, okay. Well, you know the storyline anyways. He went back in time and he ended up in 1955, and he actually bumped into his future. He bumped into his mother, who didn't, meet her husband yet. And she fell in love with her own son back in time. And so he had to go and correct that. And then Biff saw him and it changed the course of events. And so then he had to go and do whatever. But through him going back in time to go change things, because he had to, because it was something that was accidental, it actually made things in the future better. So when you think about what's going on right now, we're in the future, and we can change things right now. We're in the future, we can change things. Because we had to go back to the past and look, and right now we're in the past, also in the future. And so if we're getting off of drugs and alcohol, and we lessen the predatory behaviors in males and the sexuality and all of that, and we change everything the way we do things, then we're going to have an amazing future that then will turn into the predatory men will be a little more subservient. The alpha males will be a little more beta males. The people will be more intellectually capable. We don't have whiny housewives or pushover men, because there's a lot of pushover men like George McFly was in the beginning. And so when Marty came back after he saved himself during the Enchantment Under the Sea segment, and George McFly stood up to the bully Biff and started his life with Lorraine, he walked inside, and Biff was subservient, beta male. His parents were more intellectual and mature. His father was not a pushover. His mother wasn't a whiny housewife. And that's what the system is trying to do, is tame the alpha male so he's not so predatory and change society. It's all programming. But it's not going to happen with freaking drugs and alcohol and crazy sex and pot. The system is trying to evolve people. They're not base level caveman instinct, beating everything up and consuming it. However, right now and in the future, we need to relax the sexuality in everybody, especially in the alpha males. Women, if you don't stand up for yourself, your husbands and your boyfriends will walk all over you. Men, if you don't stand up for yourself, the women will walk all over you. And if you have to walk all over people to get your point across, maybe it's time to separate. And they showed even Trump looking like Biff. That's funny. And then the alcohol, that encourages the aromatase to trigger, which then turns the testosterone into estrogen. Okay? And so that's the thing. Alcohol could be turning a man into a woman earlier than expected. Do you really need that beer? Why is it that some women look more manly as they age out? The estrogen programming that was so prevalent back in the 80s is wearing off. So that's why you saw Kathleen Turner look and sound like a man. It wasn't that she's man. No, the programming. She was under the spell of the estrogen. It gave her the beauty. It gave her the talent. It gave her so much. It gave her Disney. Remember Disney? Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty? And so, yeah, why do some women look more manly as they age out? The estrogen programming is disappearing and the testosterone is mostly left, which is why older women look more handsome and manly. The programming is wearing off. You were bred, I was bred to be very extreme on either end. Some men bred to be alpha males, asshole alpha males. Some women were bred to be so effeminate, so female that they're hot. And men are like, oh my gosh, she's the full package. Yeah, because you want to screw her to death. That's why she's a full package. And she will use that until her sexuality is used as a weapon against her. And it will be through children and through violence. And so you were bred to be very extreme on either end, and some had a little balance of both. If you were born a man, as you get older, you might take on some more female characteristics. Not all the time, but if you've been under drugs and alcohol, yeah, it might happen. Because the testosterone does eventually convert to estrogen. And if you're born a woman, especially with high estrogen, when the programming wears down or breaks down, women look more manly as they get older. It's all hormonally driven. Circulating testosterone activates the androgen receptors and is also converted into estrogen in the brain via aromatase. This conversion is the primary source of estrogen to the male brain. All right? And so it is unclear whether testosterone and estrogen signaling interact to masculinize neural circuits. Alcohol is a culprit of potential gender conversion over time. Okay? It's in the science. Aromatase is an enzyme that converts androgens into estrogens. It is also known as estrogen synthase. Aromatase is a member of the cytochrome P450 superfamily. It is the only known enzyme capable of aromatizing the A ring in androgens such as testosterone and androstenedione to produce estrogens such as estradiol and estrone. Aromatase activity is increased by age, obesity, insulin, gonadotropins, and alcohol. So all these alpha males are like, yeah, I'm drinking my beer and smoking my cigarettes and smoking my pot and being like a man. Yeah, okay. You'll look like Steven Tyler. And so we have all these activists out there. We're like, oh, people need to pay attention. Why aren't they paying? There's so much apathy out there. Yeah, because there's a way to reach people. But it's not through preaching through all the remedies market. It's not going, just throwing up on people. It's not trying to get retribution, though that's a process. I went through that process. Okay? You want people to pay attention to you? Suffer to live, like what I'm doing. I'm showing you the last 7 years of my suffering. I'm trying to live. Or suffer to die. You see people all over Facebook. Oh my God, everything is crazy. My life sucks. Oh my God, my life sucks. And people are like, all sympathy. Or somebody died. Oh my gosh, life sucks. And I'm not going to do anything to change. And so they're suffering and bleeding and throwing up all over Facebook. Oh, their mother died, their father died, and they can't get over it. I understand. I get it. And so, or suffering to die. And then they want to hear, and so they want to hear the story around your suffering. Who's they? Your audience. You have to tell them a story why you're suffering and what you're doing about it. Or, hey, why not look hot and sexual? So if you don't want to show anyone that you're suffering to live or suffering to die, then you're just going to sell sex all over the internet. And you'll have something else to sell. And that's how you grab people's attention. That's how Hollywood did it. Sex and suffering sells. So right now, a lot of the activists are suffering to die. And that's how they're selling their story. And so if you are buying into someone suffering to die and telling you that your body is only temporary and your soul is forever, yeah, they're telling you a story to die, and they're suffering to die. That's so many activists out there. And then there's the J world. We're suffering to live. Not everyone's going to post it because it's ugly. It's not remedying away your situation. When you're suffering to live, you'll have big growths on your face. You'll have rashes everywhere. You'll be like all like to people. You'll say what you got to say. You'll talk about certain things. People are going to hate you. They're going to troll the fuck out of you. Absolutely. They'll talk about you because no one has been conditioned to suffer to live and post it. It's too much of a stain on their image. It's all about filters and sex and drugs and rock and roll, right? And that's how you grab people's attention. That's how Hollywood did it. Sex and suffering sells. Otherwise, you're boring. Who wants to be preached to for hours and hours and hours, right? People love drama with some facts and things they can relate to. History, politics, science, Hollywood, allegory, religion. And they do not care if you survive it. People don't give a shit if I survive or not. They just like the storyline. They think I'm going to die in this world that I'm in. Okay, fine. If that's what you think, and I'm still, grabbing your attention, you're still watching, hey, whatever. Maybe I might get through. And some people, give a shit if you survive. But people like watching drama, regardless of what the intention or the outcome. They just like the storyline, even if they walk right into the middle of it. They like the storyline. They like all the conflict. And so give them a show. Maybe survive it, right? Intend to survive it. Or else you are no different than a stupid TikTok challenge people die from. You'd be like Jackass. Remember how they make money hurting themselves? Yeah. If you want to suffer to die, you're different. You're no different than Mr. Jackass dude. No different than any of those stupid shows where people harm themselves to get laughs. Remember, I have no problem posting the suffering and talking about surviving it without treating it. I have a long history of suffering to survive, 7 years at least. People want to see the appropriate gory details, and you might get trolled for that. But you'd have to know how to characterize growth and release. Otherwise, if you cannot do this and you're trying to wake up the masses, your activism is a dime a dozen. There are thousands of gurus who claim they have the answer to wake up the masses. No, people need to see suffering like this. Hives, growths, anger, puffiness, even 10 times worse than, the hives that I had. And you post a week later, they cleared up using nothing. And will they believe you? Who cares? You stuck your neck out. Pardon the pun, right? Because over time, they're going to watch you. You're not going to get the results right away, what you think. You're not going to get people's buy-in. Because when people suffer all the time. They have growths, they have heart attacks and strokes, and people die from it. It's the long game is what you're in for. If you're in for the short game, yes, never mind. You're not part of this world. If you want to be part of the long game and you want to be an influencer, post your suffering. Post the big growths. Don't treat it with doTERRA. Don't treat it with any of these essential oils out there. Don't be using all the remedies. And don't be posting it as if you're like, another fucking guru. No, people want to see your suffering long term and that you're able to overcome them. Remember, I had all those crazy different sicknesses. People were like, oh, Jillian's dying now. She got COVID. She's dying. And here I am today. I wasn't dying a couple of years ago. I was going through the process, telling you how to support that process. And so I said, more hives in my front rib. I feel the energy, making wonderful connections. And it is 65 degrees, sunny. Many will be blinded by the light. And so someone's like, I kind of went off on this poor person. I don't even know how to respond to my information. He was like, oh, feeling any better at the moment? You'll get there. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I need to tag her in this, but I'm not gonna put her on the spot. But I did say, I was better an hour later. And I also said, she goes, I hope you get better soon with all these flowers. I'm like, are you kidding me? So then I said, I'm just gonna say what I said. I am better. I don't understand what you're doing. There is no hope you get better soon. I'm already better. That's the point. And I said, this is not a post looking for sympathy. This is a post to show you how fast growth happens in climate change and people are dying. I post not to get sympathy because I can handle the growth, but kids are dying, elderly are dying, and even the middle-aged are dying. It is insane. My immune system is open and I release the demons. And I'm not mad at you. Yes, I'm shouting, okay? I do shout. But I want you to understand how dire this situation is. Children are dying all over the world because people do not fucking get it. She probably didn't know how to respond to that. And I'm not mad at these people. They just don't get it. They're oblivious. People are oblivious. It's crazy to watch. And so I also want to say, this is not what I'm doing. Okay? And what men, as far as the men and women and where men are going to end up someday, which we know if they don't fucking get it together. But I'm not looking for reparations or any apologies from men. I don't want any man to say, well, I'm not representation of the men out there that have done harm to some of the women. No, I'm not looking for you to be the hero, compassionate male that's so different than a Muslim or a Judaist person or a Christian or a Catholic or a pagan, okay? This is not about reparations to women or men because of aggressive men and women of the past, present, or future. Even the compassionate men and women have their own agendas. Humans need to come to terms with change and evolution. Period. Point blank. Save yourself. No one needs your apologies. No one needs your retribution against anyone in the past. Okay? Yes, some of us are angry. I'm not so much angry at my parents. No, it was a contrived program that was very intentional. Yes. But there are some people, it's very intentional in their culture to do what they do. It doesn't mean it was right, but it is what it is. You survived whatever violence that you were around. You survived it. Now do something with that energy. Do something with it. Okay? Not everyone's going to survive the violence out there in families, in cultures, in the community. But if you survive it, redirect and find a way to use that energy for something amazing, but not to try to save the world as far as you trying to save people individually. How are you going to save yourself? That's really what that comes down to. Because again, you see all the gurus out there. They're suffering to die, and they are. And people are like, ooh, let's watch this person die. And that's what's going on. No one needs apologies. Just save yourself and intend to be a safe person others can be around. That's it. All social constructs are changing. And so if you are so attached to people paying attention to you and listen to you, you are acting like a martyr, a God complex, an activist, suffering to die, and you won't survive. If you want people to take notice of you, you must suffer publicly. You must be able to put your money where your mouth is, and it's got to be the long game, and you can't be remedying any of your diseases on Facebook. You got to let that shit play out. And if you think it's dangerous, then you go get it treated. Then you're doing nothing different than anyone else out there that has a disease and it got treated through something. And now I have the magic cure, right? People pay attention to those who survive the suffering, and you have to suffer publicly. And I don't know what that looks like. Only you know. That means if you have a huge growth on your head and you're not treating it except for food and release, you're posting that on Facebook. People want to see you survive that disease, and they want to see that huge growth on your head. And yeah, you'll get trolled all to hell. They'll be like, oh, did you take a V? Oh, they'll make fun of you. But that's part of it. Survive the ridicule. That's what makes you stronger. They don't need your apologies. I don't need anyone's apologies. I give a fuck. Men have done shit because they were trained to do that. Women have done stupid shit because they were trained to do that. But if you know how dangerous some of them can be, you don't get mad at them. You just stay away from them. Okay? People want to see all the sores on your face. They don't want to know another remedy out there because there's no guarantee. They want to know if you can survive that without treating your disease. Well, maybe they don't. But if you can show them that you can survive without treating your disease, that's even better, right? People who treat disease trying to save other people, you're one of the many people out there. You're not dying. You're not doing anything different. And every remedy must be FDA approved. And it's not about selling anything. You're not trying to convert them. You're not trying to save them. You're the example of someone suffering and surviving it. So good luck with trying to wake up the masses if you're not even going to wake up your own immune system. If you're trying to put it to sleep with herbs and oils. And so Babylon, right? Babylon, Hanging Gardens of Tower of Babel, that was out in Iraq. That's gone. That's been mowed over, right? Now I see why they predict only women in the future. Remember, you were programmed to be very sexual, hetero or homo. Gay men will screw other gay men out of existence. Hetero men will not allow other men to evolve and change, and will make sure one another never evolves or changes, and will make fun of the men who try to save themselves. That is why the men will be extinct in the future. Not only will the women screw them out of existence, but the other men in their lives will also keep them so distracted they all die suddenly together. Women will be the only gender left in the future. Some women might be more testosterone than other women. Not exactly a man, but a combination of both. And so you're seeing that, let's say, with G Flip and Chriselle Staus. G Flip is a singer in Australia. Chriselle is a personality on Selling Sunset. And they're both like the lipstick lesbian and the more of the testosterone lesbian. And that's the chemistry. Okay? That's chemistry. That's all chemistry. And it's not a man. It's a woman with a little bit more testosterone than the other woman. That's pretty much it. Chriselle is very estrogenic and she's hot. G Flip is cute, but a little bit more manly. And there you go. That's what's going to be in the future for the most part. And that will be a safe society because, you know, when you have someone that has more testosterone but still female, they're not going to be so predatory. But of course, every relationship will have their shit. And that's where the system will have to go in and regulate if it gets out of hand. Because even that can get out of hand, okay? We know people fight even in lesbian relationships. So that's not like violence is going to be not the case in some relationships. Sometimes it is very violent in some homosexual relationships. All right? And so you still get the fireworks and the chemistry if you are still looking for a mate run by sexuality, which is why lesbianism is accepted and will outlast the gay men's culture. The gay men and heterosexual men won't be around in the future because they'll fuck each other out of existence or keep each other so confined in a social construct. I already see it in the alpha males. They're keeping each other so confined, and their estrogenic women are like, yep, you're not going to change, husband. You're going to stay exactly the same, and I'm going to fuck you out of existence and take all your money. And I already see that in some of these estrogenic females. They won't let their husbands change because it's not going to serve them. And so someone like me, I don't want no part of it. My husband will be the last partner I'll ever have. I'm not dealing with the bullshit out there. That is how the system knew men will not survive the future. The sexuality was the depopulation agenda. The aggressive sexuality, like it has been even back in the 1950s, was the depopulation agenda. Because war and trauma causes sexuality. Everything was intentional. If there was an appropriate time to change, now would be the time. If you're still alive, it's not too late. What's the future for men in the J world? I'm not saying they'll turn into women, but maybe their penis won't work anymore, except to go to the bathroom. Or they shoot blanks. But if they become whole again, maybe they don't want to release the semen anymore. And maybe they won't be so predatory and violent and on the hunt for a mate. And I've gotten so much hate for observing this, how this is going to manifest. I didn't do it. The system programmed aggressive sexuality in the population back in the 1950s, 40s, 30s. It was for a reason. Advancements in technology, depopulation, 3-generation rule. I just want most of you to survive it on my Facebook in my community. I don't want to hang out with your kids. They might not even make it. But if you can make it, mom and dad, your kids might have a chance. That was why the marijuana was such an aggressively influential drug and regulated as well as promoted. Babylon. That's why those societies went completely under. They pit the genders against each other, the sexual orientations against each other, and then mutually assured destruction. So it may have happened organically back then, but the system knew that was going to happen anyways, and so they preempted it. And that makes sense, just like Universe 25. When they let things happen organically with a few alterations, they saw the outcome was always outright extinction. And the circumcision made the man even more aggressive and sexual at an earlier age. Everything was for a reason. History repeats itself until people learn their lessons. And so fall of Babylon, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, like the earlier Babylonia, was short-lived in 539 BC. The less than a century after its foundling, the legendary Persian king Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon. The fall of Babylon was complete when the empire came under Persian control. Wow, interesting. Interesting. Empaths equals oxytocin equals love equals addiction equals reefer madness. Somewhere equals children equals pets. Addiction to pleasure and vampirism. Remember, J-World, when I chased away the empaths. Remember that? sliming with their love, love, love. My gut knew. People thought I was Satan when I was chasing away the empaths. But I knew they were under the influence of the love hormones. But they made me out to be a demon. Oh, you have a problem with, oh my God, you weren't loved enough. You have an issue. I'll tell you, I went through the ringer with that when people are mischaracterizing why it is my demons had to come out and chase them away, because I knew they were deadly. I knew that. They were in the professions of the energy healing world. They were sliming the fuck out of me. Okay? They were under the influence of the love hormones. The love, love, love drug do not ever cross a love drug addicted person. The hate comes out and all of their minions come out, and it is aggressive. I knew even 5 years ago something was not right in the energy healing world. Even in the 1960s, I knew. And when you have to be mean, establishing boundaries to love drug-addicted people, they call you the enemy, and they use their love as a manipulation to guilt you into buying what they have. And that's in the Asian culture. That's in many cultures. That's why I don't hang out with any of my culture. I'm not into any of the old world traditions where everyone's under the influence of love, drugs, and sex, and money, and worshiping all that bullshit. I'm on my own, developing my own fucking culture. The salesmen of our society are under the influence of the love drugs, and that's all in the politics, all religions, all of them, and science dogmas. And yes, the Abrahamic religions, pagans, all have been tainted by the love drugs. Scary shit. And that is not an insult to anyone, just an observation to be aware of. That is the depopulation agenda. That is why everyone around you is suffering and dying suddenly. It is so sad. And this is all planned way before our parents. Your parents were influenced by the normalization to love everything to death. You can save yourselves, but man, some will have a hard time extricating themselves from the influence. Remember how much hate I received the last 7 years? Imagine all of you trying to change and your friends mock you, family attempts to stop you, call you all the names in the book, or kill you with kindness, or even call the police if they think you are hurting yourself. It is so dangerous to leave the cult of pleasure and love. Okay? That was the intentional. That was intentional. That is why I hang out by myself and with my husband. Most do not understand this, as they are suffering trying to save the world, and they're married to people, and they love their husbands to death. They love the wives love their husbands to death. The husbands love their wives to death, and the wife is like, oh, I'm going to save the world, and she's this all Gaia loving mother, and she's saying, oh, remember, somebody out there loves you. You're not alone. Somebody loves you. I'm like, I don't want your fucking love. If someone's alone, leave them the fuck alone. We don't want your love. Your love is sticky, icky, yucky. No, I don't want your love. And I probably don't have your respect, so I don't even want your respect. Just stay far away over there, okay? I don't want your love. I would like respect, but you have to earn that. I have to earn that. And believe me telling you that I don't want your love does not earn respect towards me. So let's just part ways, and you can go ooze and slime somebody else. Now imagine a man being forced into a relationship with a girl who will destroy him with pleasure, drugs, alcohol, and sex. And if he crosses her, she might go and take it further. The Black Widow. Imagine a woman being forced into marriage and being used as a punching bag and a screw hole because a man has to let his demons loose on her. That's the depopulation agenda. It's scary out there. And so the system is doing a service by turning up the heat so you die suddenly if you can't handle it. Because your kids will be subject to the ultimate suffering. The demons are strong out there and they don't give a shit, and they're cunning. And then religion justifies it. People are trapped in dangerous situations and they put on a sunny face while they are suffering miserably, being tortured by their partners. And so they have to be under the influence in order to endure the lifetime of suffering, being screwed literally to death by someone you cannot get out from. And her family frowns upon it, says there's something wrong with her or you or anyone. In-laws won't let you escape, especially if you're giving them children. And if you do escape, you won't be able to see your kids because they'll paint you as a freaking demon. Or girls will get pregnant and not survive. The pregnancy will break them in half. It's pretty screwed out there. Oh, I've seen families basically cultivate a courtesan. And that poor girl is going to get broken in half. Like literally broken in half by her boyfriend or now husband. And you already see even in the wedding photos what her role is. Oh, it's so obvious. And it's scary for her. Because you know what will happen? It's all love in the beginning until that breaks down. And then you have a bunch of children after that. Then there's the stresses of disease and cancer and economics. And then the dream of like marriage and Cinderella is now going down the drain. And then it's fighting and paranoia and violence, if they even survive getting to that point. If somebody in there doesn't die suddenly. It's sad. And so I say the most important thing, J-World, is do not let the death of anyone in your immediate world or social networks take you down with them. Save yourself. Some people say your body is temporary and your soul is forever. They are dying and looking for agreement and company as they leave this earth. Counter the spells of death. Activists are realizing they never had the power to stop what they thought was going on, and now they are spent, spinning their wheels, and they need company while they are dying, which is why they are so aggressive in their activism. But they are losing steam, and I can feel it and I can see it. Saving others is not a job anyone in their right mind voluntarily takes on. Sick people desperately try to save the world. It is a job that is futile, no return on investment, and it's deadly and life-sucking. The curse of activism is thinking you have control over others. It's a God complex. They think their job is to lift the fallen until the fallen drown them. When you are suffering from disease supported by food and release, it's how you could possibly save yourself. And by that example, you can give someone the opportunity to save themselves. That is the only way. Even doctors cannot save people, nor the herbalists. All clients end up dead in some form or another, looking for the pain-free way out of life and burying like a baby, like in your belly, or cremating children along the way, burying them. The path to death is passing on your suffering to offspring who die anyways. And so when you're passing on your suffering to someone else as an offspring, even in your body, okay, in your body release the demons, but as a child, when you're passing your suffering on to the next generation, the path to death is passing on your suffering to offspring who die anyways, because you're going to fucking die. Grim and true. And remember, I tried, okay? People who out there who thought Jillian doesn't like it, or no, I like everybody, but you know, I tried to fit in. I tried to fit in with families. I tried to fit in with friend groups. I tried to fit in with people. I also tried to be a drug addict and an alcoholic in order to fit in. I so tried. I couldn't do it. I did not have the body for it. Hey, it's great when people can relate to you and make fun of you, and that's how you're able to relate. That's how people relate to each other, is all the stories of the stupid shit you do when you're drunk and stoned. I don't have the body for it. Plus, I couldn't be an IV drug user because I hate needles. And so I was so jealous of people who could still be functioning addicts, go to work, and have a friend base, and they have so much fun. Like these guys that can go to work and party all weekend, go to work, make a good amount of money, have so much fun on the weekends. And I'm like, I want that. That looks like so much fun. I couldn't. I can't. Indefinite life has no room for that. It has no room for entertaining misery. That ought to tell you the society you live in. And so cannabis demons eat sperm viability, like Pac-Man, and then eventually its host, the male or the female. All right? And so the world's changing, and I'm so happy Snoop Dogg put it out there. God bless you, Snoop. You know what? I hope you survive it. I hope you do. Good for you, Snoop. Now, let's see if the rest of the world will be able to do what you're doing. Most likely not. Many people are not going to be able to survive trying to redirect. Some will, some won't. Some people have excellent health care and excellent support system. And so as they're going through the throes of exorcism, there are people around them that will make sure and monitor their vital organs, monitor their vitals, and make sure they have food, they have rest, sleep, they can deal with their outbursts, deal with all the things that is required to deal with someone who's going through a major redirection. I hope they survive it. But remember, if Snoop does what I'm doing, and he can release those demons and eat food, oh, it's gonna be hell. And so some might get off the pot, but they may not survive. It's just hard to say. Okay? And so all I gotta say is good luck. All I gotta say is good luck, because you're gonna need it. You're going to need it. It's just insane. This is so insane out there, I don't even know what to say. And with these kids dying, 11-year-olds in Ohio. The kid, he's a little chunky kid, so you think the skinny kids are not going to survive. Oh, they'll have a hard time too. Even the chunky kids, they may not have the infrastructure. That's pretty scary. All right, that's all I'm going to say. Bye.